Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is Maria Shpala, and I'm going to take you through the topic of feminist theory in the educational leadership, rethinking gender dynamics in the Namibian educational system. When we talk about feminist theory, we are talking about a social, political, and intellectual movement advocating for equality between the genders. Feminist theory examines how power, privilege, and operation are organized around the gender and how systems like education can either reinforce or challenge inequalities. Feminist educational theory. Feminist theory critique how curricula, school culture, and leadership structures often marginalize women and girls. It calls for inclusive, participatory, and democratic leadership approaches that values collaboration, empathy, and equity in education leadership. The feminist leaders, they advocate for breaking the barriers in school leadership and also creating gender sensitive curricula, as well as supporting policies that empower all learners regardless of the gender. We are going to compare feminist and masculinist leadership. When it comes to masculinist theory, traditionally, school leadership, especially in post-colonial systems, has been dominated by masculine norms. It's more about hierarchy, competition, and authority, and also individualism. This model reflects control and not collaboration. The comparison between the two is that when it comes to power in feminist theory, it is shared and distributed. So power is distributed among parents, learners, and also the community, not just from the authorities. While in the masculinity, the power is centralized. It's from the top downwards. So the decisions are made from the ministry coming down to the community, learners, and the parents. And then when it comes to communication, in feminist leadership, communication is collaborative and open. They are more concerned about what parents, for example, are thinking regarding the educational leadership. And while in masculinist leadership, it is directive and authoritative. They are more about telling others what to do, or parents or learners or other during within the educational system what to do. They don't consider what they have to say about the leadership. The leadership style used in feminist leadership, it is empathetic and nurturing. So it has care, and it shows mercy about somebody else. While in masculinist leadership, it is assertive and just based at the top. And in Namibia, gender gaps in schools is so huge. In Namibia, despite significant progress post-independence, school leadership remains male-dominated. More males are more in leadership posts than women, and fewer than 40% of Namibian school principals are women, despite women comprising the majority of the teachers. The curriculum and bias. Textbooks often portray men as leaders, and then they see women as domestic related, and they are reinforcing gender stereotypes. There's also the girl child. The girl child in Namibia face unique challenges, including teenage pregnancy, gender-based violence, and lack of access to sanitary products. These issues cause girls to drop out of school, particularly in rural areas. The boy child crisis is also part of the realities in Namibia. However, focusing on girls has sometimes left the boy child behind, because when we pay more attention to the boy child, we are neglecting the boy child. In recent years, concerns has risen about boys' underachievement, disciplinary issues, and dropouts. The boys are increasingly disengaged, especially in lower income and rural areas. We have practical feminist solutions. We can introduce inclusive leadership training. Educational leadership programs should incorporate feminist theory, teaching both men and women leaders to adopt inclusive, empathetic, and equity-driven leadership styles. And then we can also engage in gender responsive pedagogy. The teacher should receive training to identify and challenge gender stereotype in classroom practices and learning materials. We should engage ourselves to support both genders. A feminist approach in Namibia must be intersectional. It must uplift the girls while also addressing the vulnerability of the boy child. For example, with girls, re-enter policies for teenage mothers, menstrual hygiene programs. And for boys, you can implement mentorship programs, emotional literacy workshops, and positive male role models in the Namibian education, since the boy child needs also to stay motivated. In conclusion, the feminist theory in educational leadership challenges us to think how the gender roles are constructed in our schools. It also promotes an inclusive and a compassionate and equity-centered approach that benefits all the learners. In Namibia's unique context, applying feminist principles is not about exclusion. It is about transformation. Only by embracing inclusive leadership, we can build a future where both girls and the boys thrive equally in our educational systems. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for listening, and thank you for having me tonight. Have a blessed night.